I've been looking for DW40 and I have it. So hold on. That's amazing.
Way to start our live stream, Chuck.
Yeah. Oh, great. All right, we're live. So I'd like to welcome the man, the legend, Lloyd Segal, who is the most resourceful man in real estate and one of the most interesting people in real estate, who's done it all from practicing law for over 30 years, being an amazing author. We'll talk about his books, a developer, and of course, the president of the LA Investors Club. Welcome, Lloyd.
Thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you. We are going to start with a couple of basic questions about, I think we should start talking about your journey and how you got started and how you got to where you are.
I got started a million years ago. My dad's been a real estate investor, owns a ton of apartment buildings back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I was doing litigation for rock and roll stars here in Los Angeles with a law firm in Beverly Hills. And he said the first signing I received as an artist, we would take his money, he would take my money that I got as an advance, he'd match it, and we'd buy a house together. So we bought a house on Cantaloupe Street in Van Nuys. And I don't know, $100,000 maybe, I forgot the exact price, but I lost interest in it, was still doing my music stuff and running all over the country. And my artist was a guy named Nick Gilder, had a #1 song right off the bat called Hot Child in the City, if you remember that song.
Of course.
Right. Nick did a couple more singles, became a one-hit wonder. The label Chrysalis Records, which is no longer, dropped us. And suddenly one day I was without an artist. And I called my dad to tell him we had just flown back from Amsterdam in Europe. And I told him that the label had dropped us. And he said, "How's the house doing?" And I said, "House is doing fine. It's more than doubled in price." And he goes, "What are you doing?" And it was almost cold turkey. I stopped that day, changed my whole life, and went into real estate and never looked back.
Amazing.
That's the short version.
That's great. So when you were doing that, you were on the legal side, right?
Yeah,
you were representing them on the legal side.
Yeah, we represented David Bowie and Marvin Gaye and Black Sabbath and Linda Ronstadt, Paul Butterfield, a bunch of artists like that. And my job as the newest attorney was to find unknown artists and get them under contract. And within months, I started taking every real estate class I could and started buying and selling real estate.
Okay. Can you?
So we usually have a lot of real estate professionals on the show as speakers. So it's always a privilege to have somebody that's both in real estate as a real estate guru, but also as an investor, and you buy and sell, and you're involved as the president of the Investor Club. I'm curious to know, what's your take on our market today, and how do you see the market in about 12 months from now?
The market's kind of interesting right now because inventories are so low and interest rates are so low that we are unexpectedly this summer seeing a really high enthusiasm for buying. So the market is really tight and prices are slowly drifting up. Now whether that continues, I don't know. I mean, nobody really knows, but I suspect we'll see a slowing down as we get into the fall.
So are you planning as an investor yourself, are you kind of hoping and setting yourself up for any kind of a market correction?
Well, knock on wood, I got a house for sale right now in Tarzana for $2.2 million. If you're interested, Leo, it could be yours. I got to get that sold first before I go on to something else. And then I'm teaching my students and all the members of the club to be really cautious now about determining after period value, because we just don't know which direction the market will go. if there's no more stimulus from Congress in terms of the weekly paychecks or any more lump sum payments, our economy is really going to suffer. And if it does, then we're going to lose a lot of those buyers.
I've got a question for you in regards to, there we go. In regards to your book with Stop Foreclosure Now in California, or Stop Foreclosure Now, or investing, all that is still relevant, right? It's not like laws have changed or things like that. All that's still relevant for
everything's relevant except for the fact that there is currently a foreclosure moratorium. So
yes.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans are not being foreclosed on. And in addition to that, most lenders right now are allowing for forbearances. So if you've got a single family rental or even multi-residential rental and you've got problems collecting rent, most lenders are allowing for a moratorium. Most of those moratoriums I'm finding are 1 to 2 years. Hopefully by then, pray to God, we'll be out of this pandemic, and that's all people will need to get back on their footing.
Okay. And do you know, like, for example, I keep hearing 640,000 scheduled foreclosures for once this gets lifted. Is that a thing, or do we?
No one knows the exact number, but it'll be a tidal wave. If the foreclosure moratorium gets lifted, there'll be a tidal wave of foreclosures, not to mention an even bigger tidal wave of evictions. I think that's even more problematic.
Do you see them being more like loan mods or short sales?
The houses will be, at the end of that period, no one's going to want a tidal wave of foreclosures. So you'll see a combination of all those things.
Okay.
I think what's interesting about the eviction moratorium is the Judicial Council, which is responsible for overseeing the court system in California, put a moratorium. They were not going to prosecute any evictions, and the Supreme Court Justice of the California Supreme Court was going to have that expire tomorrow, and got so much pushback that she agreed. They delayed the Judicial Council determination until September 1st. So September 1st is now the next date that there'll be possibly a termination of the eviction moratorium.
Okay.
Is that from your knowledge for residential only, or is that also on commercial?
It'd be for both. Yeah, because right now, interesting you bring that up, because right now the moratorium or the injunction, or whatever you want to call it, is actually both residential and commercial. You're right.
So if you're buying, like a 5-unit, I'm in escrow right now on a 5-unit rental property. This one happens to come all, vacant, 100% vacant, because it's a development play. But if it weren't, let's say if it was even month-to-month clients, month-to-month tenants in there, would I be able to negotiate? There is no cash for keys, there's no relocation, or is all that still in play, or is that out the window?
No, that all works. You can still do cash for keys. The only thing you can't do is you can't prosecute an eviction, which means you supposedly can't file the complaint. You can't have any discovery. You can't have any hearings. There's not going to be an eviction, unlawful detainer trial. So that's all on hold temporarily.
Okay. Leo, any other questions?
So how did you get, I always like to ask real estate agents this, but as an investor, it's very relevant. Do you remember your first deal that you purchased, and how did you get that deal?
Well, the very first deal was the one I told you about on Cantaloupe, but that's probably not the most interesting, although it did double and triple in price before I sold it. I think what's more interesting was my first fix and flip, which was a million years ago also, but it was on Saloma Drive in North Hills, like 1906. And
was it the year 1906?
yeah, it was a long time. And that was referred to me. That was a wholesale deal that was given to me. And I think we bought the house for 200, boy, were those the days, 300,000, put 50, 60,000 into rehab, made it look beautiful. And then sold it for over 400,000. So you can just sort of tell by the numbers what the values were then, what year it was. And that was my first, you know, I made every single mistake possible, but I lived at the property during the rehab based on some books I had read on that if you could live at the property, and that way you're there every morning when the workers start at 6:30, 7 a.m., you're there waiting for them, telling them what they're going to do. And that turned out to be really a good maneuver. And I've been doing that ever since. So I try to live in my houses. Of course, now it's nicer because they're multi-million-dollar estates. But when I first got started, they were tiny little homes that were sometimes didn't have plumbing
right
late at night.
Yeah, no, I know those are interesting. So you know, if somebody wanted to get into fix and flipping right now, what kind of tips could you give them? What would you advise them to do if they're just beginning?
Don't go after a foreclosure right now. Okay, what we want to look for is distressed sellers, right? We want to look for people that really need to sell. So if somebody is in foreclosure, under normal circumstances, you would be after them, but now they have a reprieve, so there probably wouldn't be the best people to search out. I think some of the fundamentals will still be people that are have tax liens against their property, people that have there's a probate involved. I think bankruptcies right now are running the highest level of bankruptcies we've seen in over 10 years, going back to 2008, so 12 years, when we were in the Great Recession. And I think another good place to look for, basically we're looking for distressed people. And I think people who have safety violations with the building and safety department or the health department or the housing department, those are also good candidates that investors should look for, go to.
That's good. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Investors Club.
Los Angeles Real Estate Investors Club, the oldest and largest investor club in all of California, which makes us the largest and oldest investor club west of the Mississippi River.
Now, how often do you guys meet? You know, tell us about the club.
We meet monthly up until the pandemic struck at the Olympic Collection, our home at the Olympic Collection in West LA, the second Thursday every month. Up in the ballroom, we get several hundred people, but we also, even more importantly, do a vendors expo preceding the meetings, where, just as an example, our last vendor expo, which was in March, we had 43 real estate vendors. So that's become a really major part of our meeting, of our group's activities. And then we try to do a monthly seminar on a subject with a guest speaker at least once a month on a Saturday. Those are usually 8-hour seminars. We do that. And then now we're doing during the pandemic, we got started doing 2 additional activities because everything else was suspended. We're doing a weekly Monday morning economic update. Have you been receiving those, Chuck? We lost Chuck. And the other thing we were doing.
No, I'm here.
Okay. On Friday, we're sending out, Marlene at our office is sending out a weekly list of wholesale properties that we have under contract that members or guests can buy.
So what exactly do you guys do when you meet, you know, in the real estate club as far as the members? And then is there any interaction or potential involvement for any of the real estate agents that are on our show watching? Is there any collaboration there?
We have anywhere from a fourth to a third of our members are realtors. So just because you're a realtor doesn't mean you can't be a member. And a lot of our realtors get a lot of their business at our meetings. What happens at the meetings is that we have usually a short introductory presentation, elevator speeches by each of the vendors. And then anyone that has a house for sale gets up and usually speaks. And then we invite every month a different national speaker from somewhere else in the United States to fly into Los Angeles and to speak and teach on a subject that's of vital importance to our members.
Do you guys have lenders there as well? Escrow people, title people? Do you have people?
Yeah, at the Vendor Expo, we have all those. We have, they're all real estate professionals that want their business improved by dealing with real estate investors and other real estate professionals. So yeah, we have escrow, we have title, we have several lenders, both hard money lenders and long-term residential lenders.
Are any lenders like me just giving money away like you see in my background?
No, but I hope they're falling into my bucket that's right there behind you.
It's right here, don't worry.
Okay, good. I'll collect it this year.
So have you done anything different since COVID to continue running business, or are you still doing everything just like before?
No, we've completely stopped our event functions. We've no meetings whatsoever. We have no vendor expos. We have no seminars. We haven't done anything. But we, up until now, we have not had any Zoom meetings. But I'm really excited to announce that on September 10th, Thursday night, September 10th, we're going to have our first Zoom. And we're going to have Akeem Valet, who is a former NFL football player for Green Bay and then San Francisco 49ers. And he became a real estate investor when he retired and is now investing, buying and selling homes and multi-units in New Jersey.
With you guys?
No, on his own. And
okay.
He's going to be our first. He's really done well, notwithstanding all of his injuries from football. And he's going to talk about the transition from NFL to being a real estate investor. And so we're kind of excited about that. That'll be September 10th, and people can register at our website, Lareic.com, which I can give. Can I give it to everybody?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, LAREIC.com, which is an acronym for Los Angeles Real Estate Investors Club.
I just put it in the chat for everyone to have. And, you know, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people, when we started this pandemic, we weren't really sure where it was going. Everybody obviously had fears. Some people try to figure out, how do we adjust? What do we do different to make sure that we can continue to sustain? But have you seen anything that maybe surprised you on a positive level? Has anything good come out of this pandemic from a business perspective for you guys?
Well, I think in general for real estate, let's talk about our industry. I think what's really pleasantly, I'm surprised by this, is the way real estate values have increased and sales have increased. I didn't anticipate this. In March, I was saying that all the past recessions, we in the past recessions, we always saw a dip in the prices and a dip in the volume. This recession, even though it's really one of the most severe, is turning out to be one of the shortest. And while this pandemic is going on, while this abbreviated recession is in place, I think what's interesting is that we've seen increase in real estate prices and we've seen increase in sales. That's been a pleasant surprise. And one more thing, I'll add one more thing, is that during the previous recession, we can go back to 2008, we can go back to Ebola, SARS, and there was one other that was in there, but
swine.
What?
The swine.
The swine, right. And in each of those events, We had either a mild or a serious recession. In every single one of those periods, real estate prices fell dramatically, and we had an overload of foreclosures, and we saw less sales and prices falling. Excuse me. But in this one, we have the opposite effect, and that's very intriguing.
I've got a question for you regarding the various boot camps. Like, I have some of your students that call me every once in a while or shoot me a text. Hey, I'm Lloyd Segal's student. I'm taking the boot camp. Do you have any inventory? Things like that. And they seem to be, they seem to understand what's going on. Okay. As to where sometimes I might bump into other, students from whatever, not to talk smack about anybody, but someone who did the Than Merrill, 5-hour, whatever. And, you have to kind of start explaining things from scratch. You've got to start from scratch with these people. What are your thoughts? I know that some of these are obviously your competitors, but what are your thoughts about, all the different new wholesalers that are coming on the market and kind of screwing things up for agents or screwing things up, with escrows and things like that?
My thoughts is there's room for everybody, and some are going to be better than others. And so, I know you've been doing this for many years and you're really good at it. And I tell people to research the wholesaler and research the properties, do your own due diligence. Don't depend on the wholesaler telling you what the ARV would be. And that if you do your work, you'll know whether the property is a good deal or not. It's that simple.
Okay.
So how do things look for Lloyd, 2-3 years down the road? Where are you trying to take things?
Well, I'm writing a new book right now, might be my 5th. And it's about real estate. Shocking discovery. And I'm spending a lot of my time this summer writing that. Plus, writing these weekly economic updates takes a week. Each one takes a week to write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. So in a couple of years from now, I hope that book will be out. I hope the house in Tarzana right now will sell. And I hope I've done at least 2 or 3 more projects. I usually like to do a rehab, one a year. And hopefully by then I'll have 2, 3 more under my belt.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Very nice. So Chuck, if you have any other questions, but I also want to mention we are going to open it up here in a minute or two for anybody here that wants to ask any questions or bring up any kind of comments. So start thinking of those. And Chuck, if you want to ask a final question before we do that.
I've got a question. So I know that a lot of the attorneys, the bankruptcy attorneys, use the PACER system, right?
Yeah, pacer.gov.
Yeah. And that is kind of like the MLS for the real estate agents, right? They kind of organizes or kind of lets you know what the cases are, what they're doing. Kind of, I know it's a rough comparison.
Yeah.
Reaching out to someone who's in bankruptcy and trying to put a deal together because they're in a distressed situation. What kind of protection do they have? And do you want to go after the ones that have like multiple properties that only have that, that either their principal residence protection, or how do we go about that?
Okay, well, let's start with the first of your 16 questions right there. So the first one was pacer.gov is going to give you properties that are in bankruptcy, regardless of whether chapter 7, 11, or 13. So you want to go to the 9th Circuit when you get to pacer.gov. And the beautiful thing about pacer.gov, it doesn't charge anything, it's free, which is kind of exciting. And PACER, by the way, is an acronym for, God knows, for what, it's some, public records, whatever. Anyway, you should approach, remember, you should always think of bankruptcy as being nothing more than purgatory. That's all it is. It's in between heaven and hell. At that point, when someone files bankruptcy, it's a Hail Mary. And we don't know at this point, nor do they, whether or not they're going to keep the property or whether they're going to lose the property. It's purgatory. And so the way you need to approach it, if you find a property that's in bankruptcy, is you you contact them like any other method of you would use before to contact somebody, and structure the deal any way you would have done before. The only distinction would probably be that you're not going to be able to buy that property without bankruptcy court approval. Federal court oversees the estate of anyone that's in bankruptcy. So what that means is there's going to be a motion, I think 363, 362, motion to sell real estate. And that'll require the court give approval. So usually the attorney for the debtor, who presumably owns the property at that point, once you reach an agreement with them, the attorney will submit that as a motion, that contract to be approved by the court. So in essence, both sides are being protected through the federal courts. You as the buyer, the investor buying the property, and the homeowner, the debtor who's selling the property. Does that help? Does that help explain it?
Definitely helps. Does it? So the court basically dictates on where those proceeds are going, right?
Oh yeah, that's a different issue. Yeah, where the money at the close of escrow goes is going to be determined by the court after negotiations between the debtor and the creditors. But as the investor, you don't have to worry about that. That's
Okay.
not to your position as a buyer.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we have a question here. Let me go ahead and unmute. And Latasha, you're on.
Hello, everyone. This is actually an amazing meeting. So thank you for hosting, and thank you for hosting my friend and boss and partner, Lloyd Segal. He's not only amazing at his trade, but ironically, you don't see me because I am painting my house. The interior. And so Lloyd has taught me so many things, but I appreciated your question when you asked Lloyd, or maybe even a statement, ideally mentioning that people from other clubs or other locations, or people seek other people, other ideas and other people to teach them. And Lloyd actually gives more than what he takes credit for. I think that once you attend one of Lloyd's seminars, and I can say that I actually help host the seminars, our intakes, where we make sure that we capture everyone's attention and get them the best quality time that they desire and the things that they need while they're physically at our seminar. And we just give them, no holds barred. This is your place. You network, internet, everything is available to everyone. But inside of that seminar, you learn and walk away with so much. You can literally walk away purchasing a home in that seminar. You can walk away with a cash buyer in that seminar. There's just so much that it offers. And Lloyd doesn't give himself enough credit. So it's been a pleasure working with him. It's been a pleasure learning under him. And I think that everyone should join our meetings on those Thursdays. Thank you.
Oh, shucks. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, if you look at that picture of Latasha, you can see that she's a skinny runt now. That football next to her is bigger than she is. Latasha now has to run around the shower to get wet.
Thank you for vouching for him. You made him blush, and
You did. I'm blushing.
yeah, I think anybody who crosses paths with you knows what you're capable of. I have to say, the first time I met Lloyd was like maybe 8 years ago. A property in Los Feliz. There's a bunch of investors. Yeah, a bunch of investors, a bunch of realtors, and he walked in and he's like, "Yeah, you can't put a second story on this." And everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" Of course, and 3 days later, they all found out that you can't put a second story there. So I was like, I got to stick to this guy. This guy knows what he's doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone else? Who else do we got here?
Let's hear from Latasha again. That was pretty good.
Okay, there we go. No other questions? Answered everything for y'all? I have a question regarding the Investors Club. Is there like a fee to join? Can anyone join? What's the deal?
No, there's no fee to join. It's absolutely free. The vendor expos are free. The only thing that there's a charge for, and it's usually really de minimis, is the weekend seminars. If we're doing one, we only do maybe one a month or one every other month. We do a basic training boot camp where we do 8 hours on how to become a real estate investor, which is our most popular. We also do one on fix and flipping houses. We do one on probate. We do one on wholesaling, where we teach everybody to be like Chuck. And we do one on how to find deals, which is always a trick, where to go to find your next deal. And I feel like I'm skipping. Oh, we do an out-of-state investing summit where we bring 4 speakers in from 4 different locations that are turnkey operations. Last year we had, in January, we had an out-of-state summit. We had a speaker come from Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, Indianapolis, Indiana, and somewhere else. Oh, Detroit, Michigan. And each of them got up there for half hour to an hour and spoke about what kind of opportunities they have for investing in those cities. And those cities, they're really unique because you have positive cash flow, which is kind of a unique thing that we don't know about in LA.
Yeah, that's right.
So we do
That's
those
foreign to us.
seminars. Those are all been put on hiatus until we're through with the pandemic. And we're hoping to return to those as soon as possible. We also do once a year a grand expo in connection with Realty 411, Linda Piagas, and with Sam's Real Estate Club, Sam Sadat. That was originally scheduled for September. We do it every year in September. Unfortunately, we pushed it back to November. And then unfortunately now we do it at UCLA because we had 800 people attend last year. Just monster event. And so this year is going to be next year, because now we're doing it in January 24th or 26th, whatever that Saturday is, January 24th, 2021. It's amazing we're planning events for 2021, isn't it?
Yeah, I've dealt with Sam Sadat. He's great. One more question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
One more question.
Chuck. I got something to follow.
Okay. So obviously I've seen you've been quoted and either spoken or interviewed like Wall Street Journal, CNN, Fox Business News, Los Angeles Times, Smart Money, radio shows, TV shows. What's like the #1 topic that they like to pick your brain about?
Oh God, that's so interesting. What a great question. Everybody wants to know what's going on in LA. It doesn't matter what year, what date, what month. Doesn't matter if there's nothing happening here or everything. What's going on over there in LA? So I'm always very proud to talk about our city. I love the calls that come right after earthquakes. Well, you want to buy some earthquake property? I always get that one a lot. Do people want to buy earthquake property? Crazy.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So Lloyd, how do we get involved if we're interested in getting involved in the club?
Thank you for asking. Go to the website. You can sign up there for information. And again, that's Laric.com. Did you put that up somewhere? L-A-R-E?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yes, it's in the chat for everyone.
Investors Club.
And then one final question for me, and then if anybody else has something, feel free. I allowed you to unmute yourself. But what's your take on all of the auction properties, especially now the online auctions like 10x and auctions.com? What's your take on them?
Well, I think it's really hard to buy. I always try to strive and tell my students, never buy a property for more than 65% of after-repaired value. It's just a mantra. And it's really challenging to do that on auction.com. But I'll tell you where I've had more success with auction.com, the 10x thing you're referring to.
Yep.
Is what we've done a couple times is buy defaulted notes on auction.com on shopping centers. And then try to get the owner to give us a deed in lieu of foreclosure in exchange for a payment, and buy properties that way.
Interesting.
Or single family residences or multiplex, whatever, multi-residential.
Yeah, and 10x is basically auction.com for commercial.
Right. It's just their name.
Yeah. Okay, very nice. Any other questions before we go into our win for the week? Oh, we do have one question. Yes, go ahead, Jason.
Just real quick, Lloyd, you said your mantra was never buy 65% of what?
Never pay more than 65% of after paired value. Look at those cool guitars behind them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, Chuck. So win of the week. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us? And then everybody here, if you guys can think of one win this week that was either business, personal, doesn't matter, just for us to finish on a high note, feel free to share it with us. But Chuck, you can kick us off. You'd love sharing your win for the week.
You know, this is a really small win. It's a tiny, tiny win. It's the tiniest win I've ever had, but it's a tremendous win. I have a property that I just put under contract in Woodland Hills for $160,000. Can you believe that? $160,000. It's an acre.
Where is there a
Woodland
property worth $106,000?
Is there like a
160.
protected? Is there a protected tree in the middle of the lot?
No, it's an acre and it's got a nice little pad, you know, nothing too big, maybe 10,000 square feet. And I wanted to wholesale it for, you know, $199, but I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I have one person who's like, yeah, listen, I'll take it for 170, like now, 7-day close now. So I'm considering it, but I figured I'd come on here to Rubbing Elbows to see if Leo wants to buy for 180.
We'll talk.
We'll talk.
I'll finance it. Let me just grab some of the money right here. And we'll make it happen.
So that's my win. That's like a you know,
it's a good win. That's
like
a good
done
win.
deal. It's a done deal. Thank you.
That's awesome. I see your little partner there, Michelle, clapping too. Do you have a win, Michelle?
Michelle does have a win. Let's unmute her because she just sold a property to a celebrity. She probably can't disclose his name. So tell us about that. Can you unmute her?
I unmuted. Hi. My win of the week is that I took a little bit of downtime after having a pretty big prior week. So I really believe in rest and relaxation in the craziness of, you know, being busy. So my win of the week is that I gave myself some private relaxation time.
Some TLC.
That's very nice.
I'd love to talk about my relaxing weeks.
Black realtor you'll ever meet.
Lloyd, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
The briefest of all, but the best of all, was you guys inviting me to speak here today.
Well, it was absolutely our pleasure. It doesn't go unnoticed that you take the time in your busy schedule to come on and share with everybody. And we learned a lot. I took down, I don't take a lot of notes. I took some notes today.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I always tell people like the whole reason we even started this was because of the pandemic and we're all stuck at home with, you know, some of us with kids homeschooling, and we figured this is a way to rub elbows with the experts, and we actually make some nice connections out of it. You know, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had someone from the Realty Academy, Armando Oliva, who, you know who he is after he was done?
Speaker at our events.
Yeah. After he was done, I had, you know, 2 to 3, I had 2 people from my office alone that signed up to his classes to, you know, to get licensed assistants here that wanted to get licensed. So for people to join your boot camp, for people to join a real estate investors club, these are all wonderful things. And I'm sure wonderful things will come out of it because this will stay on YouTube for a long time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So we want to thank you again for joining us.
Did you want to share something? Hang on a second.
Oh, no, just that Lloyd's a great guy. I'm another one of his, I help him at the events and have gone to several of his boot camps. You'll learn so much. My problem is I haven't put all I've learned into, I'm also a realtor and did put something in escrow today, so I'm excited.
That's a win.
That's a win. That's a
We had 10 offers on this condo and got 10,000 over asking, so.
There you go.
So here's my question for you, Patty. What are you doing with the 9 out of 10 offers that are not getting accepted?
Well, they all had realtors, so I'm gonna, as soon as this sells, I'm gonna send a just sold postcard in the complex and see if I can get some more listings out of it.
Well, we could talk about some strategies to help you
Okay.
potentially pick up, percentage of those, because whether they have a realtor or not, 9 offers didn't get accepted, so the realtor did
Exactly.
something
I was totally shocked how many offers we had.
Where
wrong.
was
Good
this?
job
by the
on
way?
that.
It's in Winnetka off of Winnetka and Keswick.
You're
Right over
kidding
there
me.
by the post
I'm one of the
office.
offers that didn't get accepted.
Seriously? No, you're not. I don't recognize your name.
I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
You can
All
write
right,
an
well,
offer
thank
if
you.
you want. We actually ended up getting an all cash offer, so.
That's the
Yeah.
best.
Very nice.
That's the best.
So it looks like you get a lot of raving fans here, more than most of our speakers get. So you're the real deal, Lloyd. Thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us. We will be here again next week, same place, same time. Please share our channel with more people so that we can have more interactions and more connections. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you all. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next week. Flipping houses. There it is. There it is. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.